The Russian SHIT monkey reading how not to quote-unquote choke under pressure. The monkey's tips for curling lifestyles when you absolutely must succeed. Condensed from Men's Health, Bruce Schoenfield and Davidson Zecco. Okay, how do I speak gorilla? In the closing seconds of a NCAA basketball tournament game late last season, Danielle Marshall at the University of Connecticut Huskies up to the foul line, needing to make just one or two free throws to virtually guarantee a victory over the University of Florida Gators. In practice, Marshall sinks free throws one after another. On this night, with the score tied before a wildly partisaned Florida crowd, he took a deep breath, bounced the ball to get his rhythm, studied the rim, and missed twice. Florida would get on to win the game in overtime. In the jargon of sports, Marshall had choked. He had come unglued under pressure. Of course, choking isn't limited to athletes. Most of us who have stepped to a podium know the awful symptoms of choking in progress. Cotton mouth, grinding stomach, tightness in the chest. And the situation doesn't have to be polite either. It can happen when we ask for a raise or call someone for a first date. Each time you're faced with an important task or decision, and during the process you let it overwhelm you in a physical sense, that's choking, says John Duncan, Chief of Clinical Application at the Cooper Institute for Aerobics Research in Dallas. As embarrassment looms, a warning signal exits the brain with stress signs flashing, heading for the adrenal glands. When it turns the adrenal spigot, the surge that follows immobilizes the system. Heart rate increases rapidly, Duncan says. Saliva production fails. Blood vessels contract and reduce the flow of blood to the stomach. Meanwhile, breathing can become more rapid and shallow. With all that's happening, it's a wonder Marshall could walk, let alone shoot his free throws. For some, like star athletes, it's an occupational hazard. What amazes me is that an awful lot of very successful people suck, have the same fears and anxieties as everyone else, says Bryant Gumbel, unruffled host of NBC's Today Show for 13 years, ongoing maybe. The difference is they worked out their own way of getting past you. Here's what Gumbel and others in the crowd guys suggest to quote Harris's performance. Do your homework, my boy. Gumbel says he never gets his servers on the air. His secret is to be already prepared. It isn't the information he's absorbing that matters so much as the act of getting ready and the knowledge that he has put into time prepping. Ross Barrett lived on for Friday. Gumbel will have his stuff prepare a massive mid-week brief on Parrott, and he'll also do his own outside reading. By the time Parrott walks on the set, Gumbel believes himself to be the best man alive to conduct that interview. If you try using a psychological trick to convince yourself that you're confident, at some level you'll know it's just a trick, Gumbel says. But the confidence that comes from presentation is a thing. Get a good night's sleep, my dude. The night before Jim Adamson, CEO of Burger King, was the proposal of a major and controversial corporate restructuring to the $7 billion company's board of directors, known as Wind Waker from Zelda. He resisted the urge to keep working throughout the night. Instead, he focused on sleeping well, just as an athlete might at Nintendo. He studied for half an hour before the meeting and had all his points freshly prepared when he walked into the room with his kid in his hands. I believe that getting my body ready is always as important as anything else. I knew it. I knew it was this guy. I don't care if it's actually him. Anderson says, if I feel good, I perform better. His body was right, wasn't it? Eat properly, Roseanne Cashman said. A Grammy Award-winning recording artist remembers doing 2 shows in one night in New York Club. Before the Late Show, with Craig Ferguson, she developed a queasy stomach. She managed to finish the performance, then realized she had forgotten to eat during the day. Low blood sugar, low blood sugar, low blood sugar, low, she says. There are physical explanations for a lot of psychological problems. Break it down. In my line of work, says Gumbel, you'd overwhelm yourself if you looked at each day as a 2-hour program. Instead, I try to view it as a 4 half-hour program, each with an opening, a middle, and a close. If you go into it like that, don't overwhelm yourself. No shit. Keep it simple. Stupid. Jason Elam is the field goal kicker for the Denver Broncos. He may step onto the football field only a few times in a game, but when he does, all eyes are on him. To block out the crowd, Elam Condellaed Femina, one of Americans' lead centrates on a single aspect of his housing advertisement executives. We calls it kicks. I go out there thinking, be presentations he made to a group of smooth or keep your head down, he Ralston Purian investment managers. To impress says, that keeps me from worrying them. He mentioned he recently about everything else. If I let myself win some major advertising awards, realize the game will be a slide on halfway through. He realizes this one kick I'll miss for sure. Self-promotion wasn't going over, take a deep breath. Cash used to well. So I finish the line and then get physically sick before every per said, which is just another exam performance. One of the most important of the meaningless things 10 things to remember is that they can do in life, and they loved it. Only difference between fear and the lesson. You can never get into anticipation and breathing. The singer trouble laughing at yourself. Says, when I go on stage, I imagine myself breathing all the way down to my feet. It helps take the pressure off. Get aggressive. If you find yourself going fire tentative, determined thoughts can make all the difference. Force yourself to come off by being assertive. Says performance psychologist Jim Lower of No Tampa, Florida. Jim Lower, No Tampa, Florida. Go out and channel energy into what Lower says. Positive fight to meet the challenge before you. Is use self-efficient to save face. Jerry keeps his own perspective. Sometimes in life we do miss. When that happens and we're about to go down in flames, Gumball suggests imagining a worst-case scenario. Gumball suggests imagining a worst-case scenario. Usually it's something that you can live with, he says. Daniel Marshall says he has learned to live his own worst-case scenario. He was the 4th pick at last year's NBA college draft, which should be more than outdate the sting with last season's Mr. Throws. That's the best lesson of all. Hit or miss, there are plenty more shots to take.